A couple things to watch out for, just right up front, that are real common and good things to know in advance. Because ellipses are tricky, they're both sort of hard to get the shape correct, as well as how squished they are. I'm exaggerating these because they probably wouldn't appear. It does depend on how close something is to you. I try to get the point across and by exaggerating a little bit how the ellipse will become flatter as it's closer to the horizon, and then more curvy the further away it gets from the horizon. So the main thing that's, well, several of the things that are tricky is when something is barely above eye level. I'm sorry, barely, pretend I didn't do that. Barely below eye level. And you can only see a really small sliver of the top. Ooh, I'm thinking about too much. That it's pretty tricky to create an ellipse that's accurately shaped as well as fit enough. It's very common to create the ellipse so that it's too rounded, especially when it's close to the horizon. And another common mistake is to not make sure that the ellipse that you're indicating that's further away from the horizon is actually more curvy, more circular than the one that's closer to the horizon. I'm going to shift pages and do a couple sort of no-nonsense examples that are quite common, and how to think about not doing them. A lot of times if you're looking down at a coffee cup, you'll sort of imagine the top being somewhat like this. You'll imagine the sides as being somewhat like this. And then you'll imagine the bottom as being somewhat like this. So that is not how a coffee cup, unless you designed it really kind of weird, would look. What do we know about eye level here? I can see the top of this mug. So I know that it's below eye level. So eye level is going to be somewhere up here. I'm not going to be too picky about exactly. But as I was just talking about, as these imaginary ellipses for cylindrical items get further away from the horizon, the eye level, they will become more and more circular. So if I sort of extend these sides up here, like I was mentioning, you couldn't see the ellipse at all. As it starts going below eye level, I start seeing just a little sliver of it. As it gets a little bit further, I'll see a little bit more. my ellipse is widening like this. As it gets lower, I'll see a little bit more. So what happens is that for some reason our eyes sort of feel like this should be flat. But in reality, we're going to be seeing even more circular ellipse. I'll try to overemphasize it. So this is even, this ellipse is going to be even more circular than this. So the bottom part, the bottom of this cylinder with only half of the ellipse that we can see, you want to make sure that it is at least as curvy and a little bit more the further it gets away from the horizon. And the same is true in the other direction. I'm going to do this example off to the side just so you can sketching. I encourage you to just sort of do a bunch of these and think about making a horizon, sketching in a horizon line, and then sketching in the basics of the cylinder. I'm going to do the center axis. I'm going to find the height. I'm going to think about if I'm looking up at the cylinder, what it would look like. I suppose I didn't really put in the sides first like my and then I might make a mistake by making this curve, which is further away from my horizon, less circular than this one I'm already seeing, which is not how it would appear. It would appear even more circular.